The Esports World Cup is nearly here. 40 of the best duos from around the world will be competing to become the Reload champions and win $130,000 each. Now in today's video, I'm going to be previewing all 12 European duos at the event, starting of course with the favourites to win, Shxrk and T3eny. Now look, there's a strong argument for these guys being the best Reload duo in the world. They won 3 out of the 4 qualifiers for this event, which is just remarkable consistency. They are such strong fighters, and it is that pure fragging ability that is perfect for an aggressive mode like Reload. They will be uncontested for the Slurp Rush map, not for the Elite Stronghold one though, but listen, with 2 maps in play for this Esports World Cup, consistent strategies will be harder to execute, as you'll have different teams around you each game. This combined with the fact that we simply don't know which 20 duos are going to be in the finals makes it incredibly tough to do predictions. Drop spots still matter, but it's going to be way more chaotic than usual. Now listen, with a rotating map, it means that the teams that can fight but can adapt on the fly to difficult situations will be the ones that flourish, and simply put, Shxrk and T3eny are that team. Realistically, of the 12 European duos that are qualified, I'd expect about 8 or 9 to make the grand final, so we shouldn't have too many issues. But listen, Shxrk and T3eny are certainly not going to be a team that will have any problems. They came second in FNCS Major 2. They're coming into Paris with a point to prove they're in excellent form, and in my opinion, they do arrive as the favourites. Yes, Peterbot and Ployo will provide some very strong competition, but if you ask me right now, I'd have to say that Shxrk and T3eny are my picks to win. Now look, if you're not familiar with the format for this LAN, then let me break it down for you. There will be 4 days of competition. The first 2 are for heats. There's 2 heats, each containing 20 duos. The top 7 duos in each heat will progress all the way to finals on day 4. The bottom 3 are completely eliminated. The remaining 20 duos that didn't make it through will have to play the survival stage on day 3, and it's the top 6 duos from that round that progress to day 4, meaning we end up with 20 duos in grand finals on the final day of competition. Something else to be aware of is that the final will employ the match point format. Now this tournament doesn't have a set amount of games. It doesn't end after 8 matches, let's say. It ends when a team hits 350 points and is then able to subsequently get a victory royale. So you have to hit the points threshold and then get a win to lock your victory. And it's a lot easier said than done. The tournament will be a maximum of 15 games. It could go all the way. It could end up being over after like 4 or 5 matches. We'll have to wait and see, but whatever happens, it is going to be absolute cinema, and certainly something a little bit different. Now back to the duos, let's discuss the Danish team of Tjino and PabloWingu, a team that had an excellent start to the year. They qualified for this event at the first time of asking in qualifier number 1. They also came second in FNCS Major 1 Grand Finals, so it was really looking good for them. They did have a bit of a disappointing Summit LAN. This past season has been a bit tough as well. They didn't have the craziest Grand Finals, and it does feel like their stocks have slightly dropped. They're uncontested for both maps in their heat. They shouldn't have any issues making the finals, and they're undoubtedly 2 very talented players, and they've not struggled lately by any means. We just haven't seen them challenging for tournament wins. We haven't seen them playing at the ability that maybe we would expect. But listen, this could be their opportunity to turn things around. Can they do that in Paris? One of the more unique duos at this event is Kaan Faded Pigeon. Now these guys were the ultimate underdogs when they made it to the LAN via qualifier number 2. They did this from splitting boom and base, which is pretty remarkable. I mean, there was hardly any loot for them there, and the fact that they were able to do that whilst other big duos had entire POIs uncontested is pretty insane. Now listen, it's not all good news though. This duo did split about a month ago, so questions do have to be asked about their chemistry. Are they still going to be able to play with each other to a high standard? It's also fair to say that their performances since they qualified haven't really been so good, so they're not really arriving in good form, but they are still 2 good individual players. Kaan is one of the 3 EU controller players qualified to this event, someone who is a very underrated up-and-coming fighter, and Faded is good too, a pretty solid all-round player. Now listen, they qualified at the start of March, so a lot of time has passed. Can they be the underdog duo once again that overperforms expectations? It's going to be a lot tougher this time round, but I'm not writing them off just yet. Now listen, it wouldn't be a LAN in Paris without a French duo, and Izzi and Nociff have secured their passage to the event in the final qualifier. Now this followed them making the Summit LAN via the second chance qualifier, making Globals via the last chance finals. It's fair to say that these guys like to leave things to the last minute, but you can't deny their quality. In my Summit LAN preview video, I spoke about these guys as a very unknown quantity. Of all the 28 duos, they were the one that I knew the least about, but it's fair to say that since then they have had their breakout. They've definitely established themselves as a solid tier 2 duo, and we will be seeing them competing on the biggest stage. I do think they could do well at this event, especially since it's on home turf. They aren't one of the strongest EU duos, but definitely don't underestimate them. If there's anything the last few months has taught us, then it's that. Now, one of the main European hopes to win is of course Sky and Skrull, the back-to-back FNCS champions. They are coming off one of the most dominant grand finals we have seen in quite some time. They're in incredible form. I mean, if we take a look at their qualifier record, it's pretty impressive as well. A second place in qualifier 1. They did miss out on finals in qualifier 2, but they then got 5th and 3rd in the final 2 events, which is pretty solid, pretty good consistency from the Danish duo. We know they like to land at Elite Armory, but that is a spot that will likely be very contested in a grand finals, so potentially they could have to negotiate a very tricky off-spawn situation. But listen, this is Sky and Skrull we're talking about here. When have we ever ruled these guys out of winning? They are so adaptable, they're so solid. Even if they do have 3 other teams landing on them, I'm sure they're going to find a way. And yes, there might be some other duos that have slightly more firepower than them, but Sky and Skrull are really solid fighters, really underrated. That's a point that genuinely, like, if you take anything away from this video, Sky and Skrull can fight. They aren't just like passive players. So this team will be undoubtedly one of the favourites to win the entire event. Now let's move on to the Polish duo of Darm and Demus, who won qualifier 3. Fun fact, they are the only duo that made every single qualifier, all 4 events. The only team that did that, so fair play to them. They are coming off a bit of a disappointing season though. In terms of Battle Royale, it's not gone to plan for them. A disappointing FNCS Grands placement. They've struggled in the Div Cups. We've not seen much from them over the past few months, but it does seem like Reload is a mode that suits them a little bit more. In the finals that they won, Demus had the most eliminations and the most damage, so they were clearly very comfortable. And if they can continue that form into this tournament, then I could see them doing very well. Yes, Battle Royale has been a bit of a struggle, but if they can keep their momentum in Reload, then don't rule these guys out from a win. Sticking on the theme of Polish duos, let's discuss Charyy and Charyy, a team that haven't really shown much aptitude for Reload. They only made one of the 4 EWC finals. Yes, they did qualify from that, but they had a heavy helping hand from the Cube rifle. We've had few chances to see their true ability because they missed out on 3 of the 4 finals, so I'm not really convinced that they're that good at Reload. What I do know though is that they've been good in Battle Royale this season. Charyy is a player that always has ridiculous output in terms of his elims, in terms of his damage, so on paper, they should be really good in these finals. Maybe it was just the opens rounds and the heats that they struggled with before. Maybe now that they're at the top level on the world stage, we will see them performing at a higher standard. But I do think there are some warning signs for this team. We haven't seen the crazy performances, but by no means should we be ruling them out either. Now let's discuss SwizzY and Pixie, a duo that have had a really solid season. They came 3rd in FNCS Grand Finals. They also won a divisional cup, so things have been looking good for them. They did struggle initially when they first formed. Major 1 wasn't good. They weren't doing well in the Div Cups, even whilst they were uncontested for some of them, but it does feel like they put those struggles past them. Now, in terms of their Reload Elite Series record, I have to say it's pretty impressive. They didn't qualify for the first finals, but they then got 7th, 3rd and 2nd, so clearly it's an upwards trajectory. And I mean, if we follow that trend, maybe they could be one of the favourites to win this tournament. I mean, I'm not ruling it out by any means. They are a duo with excellent firepower. They are very much suited for Reload, and it's fair to say that they're coming close to fulfilling their potential. They're definitely on the right path for it, so don't rule these guys out by any means. However, one duo that won't be arriving in Paris as favourites to win is Japko and Panzer. Now, they were very inconsistent when they were together. Spoiler, probably qualifying for this event was genuinely the highlight of their time playing. They did win a divisional cup too, but it's fair to say that whilst they were good on paper, they never really had a consistent string of performances. They have now split for Battle Royale, but they of course will have to stick with each other for this tournament. Neither of them qualified for globals with their subsequent teammates. Do they still have the chemistry needed to perform at the highest level? I did always used to say in my videos that you never knew when the next Japko and Panzer masterclass was coming. Maybe we could have one right around the corner when everyone is least expecting it. But it's fair to say, of all the EU duos, these guys are not being considered as one of the favourites favourites to win. Let's move on to Vico and Malibuca, the Summit LAN champions. Now they are coming off the back of a tough FNCS Grands where they came in 20th place, but they did just come second in the FNCS Last Chance Finals, so they have definitely recaptured some form, so it's fair to say that they're looking good going into this tournament. Now their Reload Elite Series record is pretty poor, if I'm honest with you. 14th in the first qualifier, they then managed the third and didn't qualify for either of the last two, so not really having a vast amount of opportunities to show how good they are, kind of similar to Cammy and Charyy. Nonetheless though, I do still think we should be considering these guys as one of the favourites to win. They've literally won a LAN this year, they're one of the top duos on the EU. Vico is an incredible talismanic fighter. It's worth noting that in qualifier 2 he had the most damage and the most eliminations, which is just proof of that. Malibuca is a great fighting IGL too, so you'd be very silly to rule these guys out of winning. Yes, Shxrk and T3eny are still my absolute favourites. Yes, you've got the likes of Sky and Scroll as well, but Vico and Malibuca have every chance of coming away with that first place. Now another duo that will be competing on home turf is the French team of Momsy and SkyJump. Now the first thing to note is that this duo have now split. Momsy just qualified for globals with Sato, however it wasn't that long ago that they were playing with each other, so I'm not too concerned about any potential loss of chemistry. Momsy and SkyJump looked full value for their qualification. SkyJump is a great controller player, Momsy a top fighter, and I do think they have a good shot of doing well, especially playing on home turf. Now Momsy actually got 4th place in the first qualifier alongside Sato, so he very nearly made it to the tournament at the first time of asking with a completely different teammate, but luckily for SkyJump they did finish 1 spot off, so we will be seeing this French team at LAN in Paris. Now the final duo to discuss is Cringe and Volko. Other than Vico, these guys are the only German speaking players at this event, and it's fair to say they've been pretty up and down as of late. They didn't qualify for globals, they had a tough FNCS Grands whilst contested, so we've not really seen a lot of good stuff from them lately. I will say that most of their traditionally good performances in Div Cups, in other set lobbies, have been when they were uncontested, when they had nice mid-map splits completely to themselves. For both maps in the heats here, however, they are going to be contested, so that kind of comfort is completely out of the window. So maybe they will struggle, maybe they can adapt. I do personally think they will make the finals, but they're certainly not one of the duos that I would expect to win. Never say never, but I think of all the teams here, they're not one of the favourites. Subscribe to the channel for more Fortnite competitive content. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one.